They say when something truly breaks, it doesn't shatter with a bang. It crumbles, quietly. Same apartment, same silence, same cold woman I'd spent the last 5 years trying to love and failing to reach. She was slicing into her salmon like nothing was wrong, like I hadn't just placed a manila envelope between her fork and knife. "Let's get a divorce," I said, my voice low, steady. Too calm, even for me. She didn't flinch, didn't even look up. "Eat. Don't make a scene," she said. A bitter laugh escaped me. Typical Elise. Emotionally distant, always in control. But then, something shifted. Her hand paused. She finally looked down at the envelope. Her fingers trembled. Just slightly. Most people wouldn't have noticed. But after nearly a decade of chasing her like a dog chasing a car, I noticed everything. Inside, I braced for the cold response I'd rehearsed. Fine. Whatever. Good riddance. Instead, I heard something else. "He doesn't want me anymore. What do I do?" The voice echoed in my skull, soft, panicked, intimate. It sounded like Elise, but not the Elise I knew, not the one who could cut with her silence. This Elise was crumbling. Why? What did I do wrong? Did I smile at someone? Did I say something I shouldn't have? No. No, I was careful. Wasn't I? I blinked. My heart thudded. That voice was in her head. I looked at her, really looked. Same flawless face, same empty eyes. But now, I could hear the storm inside. Maybe if I choke on my food, he'll take me to the hospital, buy me some time. Or maybe I'll break my leg. Anything. Just don't leave me. I was stunned, paralyzed. My wife, the woman who flinched at my touch, who shut every door I tried to open, was crying inside. What kind of sick joke was this? Was I hallucinating? Going insane? And just as I opened my mouth to speak, everything went black. No pain, no warning, just darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I was standing under a cherry blossom tree. The petals hadn't bloomed yet, just budding. A warm breeze brushed my face. And in my hand, a pink envelope. I looked down at my clothes, my old college hoodie, my beat-up sneakers, no ring on my finger. My chest tightened. This wasn't just a dream. It was memory. No, more than that. I was back, 8 years ago. Back on the day I first confessed to Elise. And standing before me was the 19-year-old version of her. Cold, dismissive, beautiful. She looked at me with that same haughty gaze, and just like before, the first words out of her mouth were, "If that's a love letter, forget it. I won't accept it." But I didn't move. I didn't speak. Because this time, I could hear her mind. Let's see if he cries. That would be adorable. I still remember the air that day, heavy, like it knew I was about to embarrass myself. We were first-year college students. New city, new campus, new faces. But none of it mattered to me, because I only saw Elise Harper. She was beautiful, effortlessly elegant, like she belonged to another world. And somehow, I thought I had a chance. God, I was stupid. I spent a week writing that letter. Tearing it up, rewriting it, folding it neatly. It wasn't a love letter. Not really. Just a quiet confession. Simple. Honest. I handed it to her after class, hands shaking, heart thumping in my throat. She took it without even blinking. Then she looked at me and smiled. Not warmly, not kindly. Just amused. "Sorry," she said. Flat, cold, not even a pause. "I don't feel the same." I nodded, laughed it off like it didn't matter, said, "No worries," and walked away. But as I turned the corner, I caught a glimpse of her through the window, still holding my letter, smiling, like my heartbreak was the punchline to some private joke. That's when I saw her for who she really was. Not a goddess, not a dream, just a girl who liked watching people fall for her and fall apart. I tore the letter that night. One clean rip down the middle. And just like that, I stopped writing anything with her name in it. When I first woke up in the past, I thought maybe, just maybe, I'd been given a second chance. But after seeing 19-year-old Elise again, I wasn't so sure. She had torn into me with that same sharp gaze, tossed my feelings aside with practiced grace, and I had torn the letter up, right in front of her. I thought I'd feel free afterward, vindicated. But all I felt was tired, and maybe, somewhere deep down, confused. So, I sat alone in the university cafeteria, a tray of food untouched in front of me. I stared at my fork like it held answers. It didn't. Everything felt the same. Same buzzing chatter, same cheap spaghetti, same regret. Marcus slid into the seat across from me. Phone in hand, face lit up with wild excitement. Before I could speak, he shoved the screen toward me. Blurry photos, a familiar face, trash. A girl, Elise, bent over a bin. She was digging through the trash, my trash, the love letter. She had pieced it together with tape. My heart thudded in my chest. No, it pounded. This wasn't the cold Elise I remembered. This was something else. "Everyone's going nuts," Marcus said, still laughing. "The Ice Queen's finally cracked." Because I couldn't stop staring at the photo where Elise clutched the taped-up envelope. Her expression wasn't just desperate. It was shattered. She actually cared? No, that couldn't be right. But then I remembered her voice, her thoughts, the ones I'd heard when I handed her the divorce papers in the future. The panic, the heartbreak, the regret. I shoved the tray aside and stood abruptly. I need air. Everything I thought I knew about her might have been a lie. Her coldness, her indifference. What if it wasn't her true self? What if Elise was just scared? The thing about second chances. You think they come with clarity. But instead, I felt more lost than ever. I wandered the edge of campus, thoughts spiraling, the same question looping in my mind. Why would she dig through the trash? Elise Wren, always pristine, always composed, had torn through garbage like a storm just to tape together a letter I shredded in front of her. Was it guilt, ego, or something else entirely? I didn't know, and I wasn't sure I wanted to. I was just about to head back to the dorms when I heard footsteps, sharp, deliberate, and then a voice. "Julian." I turned. There she was. Elise. Standing only a few feet away, chest rising and falling slightly faster than usual. Her hair, always perfect, had loose strands curling at her cheeks. For the first time, she looked human. Her hands trembled slightly as she stepped forward and held something out to me. The letter. Torn pieces, awkwardly patched together with clear tape. The pink paper was crinkled and smudged, but my words were still there, barely. "Look," she said, voice low. "I fixed it." I stared at the patched-up envelope, then at her, and something ugly twisted in my chest. A memory of every cold stare, every silent dinner, every time she'd pushed me away. So I said the first cruel thing that came to mind. "You pieced together something I wrote for my dog, and you like it this much?" Her eyes widened, and for a split second I swore I saw something crack behind them. Then, "Woof." She actually said it, softly, staring straight at me. I blinked, my brain short-circuited. Did she just bark? I opened my mouth, then closed it again. Was this a joke? Some kind of performance? But no, she wasn't smiling. She wasn't mocking me. She looked devastated. Behind her cool exterior, her eyes shimmered, not with rage or annoyance, with something raw, hurt, like a child who didn't know how to say, "Please don't leave." That flicker almost made me reach for her. Almost. But I couldn't forget the years I spent trying to love her, only to be treated like I didn't exist. So I stepped back. "You're blocking the trash can," I muttered. "Move." I brushed past her, tossing the taped letter over her shoulder, straight into the bin behind her. Silence, but as I walked away, I heard it, just barely, her breath catching. I didn't look back. I didn't want to see her cry. Because if I did, I wasn't sure I could keep walking. I needed to breathe, not think, just breathe. After Elise cornered me with that mangled love letter and barked, I didn't know what to do with myself. So when Marcus found me sulking in the dorm lobby, he did what Marcus always does. He dragged me to a bar. I didn't have the energy to fight him. The moment we walked into the place, pulsing music and strobe lights hit me. People swayed, laughed, and flirted without a care. Elise hated places like this. Back then, she'd dress up to the nines and go out without me. A voice brushed past my ear, sweet and laced with mischief. I turned. A girl, probably early 20s, slid onto the stool beside me. "Let me guess. Dumped recently?" she said. Marcus was across the table, nodding like a proud coach. "This one's good. This one's good," he mouthed. Then the temperature dropped. The entire mood, the air itself, it just shifted. There she was, Elise, storming through the bar like a thundercloud in heels. I froze. So did the girl beside me. That's all she said. No yelling, no drama, just steel. Her hand wrapped around my ear and yanked. "Move!" she snapped. "Now!" Elise shoved me into the passenger seat and slammed the door. I reached for the handle, but click. "Seriously? Kidnapping now?" I protested as the tires screeched. She turned the ignition without a word. She drove fast. Silent. We pulled into the lot of a sleek apartment building. Inside, lights off, door shut. She turned to me and shoved me against the wall. My heart jumped. She was close. Too close. "You really don't like me anymore?" she asked quietly. "You used to get drunk off one drink. Now you're out talking to other girls?" Her tone cracked slightly. "Who are you to tell me what to do?" I snapped. Bitterness laced every word. Instead, she buckled my knees with something much worse. She bit my lip. "Behave," she whispered. The door slammed shut behind us. The air inside her apartment was heavy, too quiet, too dark. Just the soft hum of the fridge and the quick rhythm of my heart. I stood by the entryway, unsure of whether to speak or bolt. Elise didn't say a word. She didn't even turn on the lights. Instead, she turned around and pinned me to the wall. Again. Her hands pressed into my chest, not rough, not soft either, just desperate. "You really don't like me anymore?" she asked. There it was again, the same question from the car, but now she looked like she already knew the answer and didn't want to hear it. Her eyes were wide, lashes trembling. Moonlight spilled across her face, catching the sheen of moisture just beginning to form in the corners of her eyes. But I couldn't do this. Not again. I gently pushed her hands off me. "Elise, stop." My voice came out lower than I intended, but I didn't take it back. "Why are you doing this now? What? Because I didn't chase you? Because I talked to someone else for once?" Her lips parted, then closed, then opened again, trembling. "I thought, if I made you jealous, maybe you'd remember how much you loved me. That's not how this works." She stepped back, her hands falling to her sides. "I didn't know what else to do. You weren't supposed to stop trying." I shook my head. "You made me believe I didn't matter. Every time I reached out, you recoiled." "I was scared," she burst out, louder than I'd ever heard her. "I thought if I let you see how much I needed you, you'd run." Silence, and then softly, "I didn't want to give you that power." I stared at her. Same Elise, but different. And then she said something I didn't expect. "I don't know how, but I woke up here too." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "I mean, this. Us. This time. It's not the first time I've lived through it." I stared, stunned. "I thought I was dreaming. At first I thought maybe I was being punished. But then I saw you again, and you were different. Softer, sadder. You came back too?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "I don't know how, or why, but when I realized it was happening, I promised myself I wouldn't waste it." A strange relief and dread washed over me all at once. We weren't just rewriting my past, we were both trying to fix the same broken story, each from our own side. "Come with me," she said suddenly. voice steadier now. She walked down the hallway and opened a door I hadn't seen before. I followed. Inside was a dimly lit room, a studio, photos on the walls, dozens of them, each one of me. Me laughing, me walking to class, me asleep under a tree. "You were always looking away," she said softly. "But I never stopped watching." I turned to her. This wasn't about jealousy. This wasn't about ego. This was about someone who loved silently, someone who never learned how to love out loud. "Elise," I said, breath catching. She nodded, stepping closer. "I don't want to stay silent anymore." I didn't know if we could fix everything, but maybe, just maybe, we could start again. We didn't speak for a while. I stood by the wall of her apartment, heart still echoing from everything she said. Elise didn't cry. She just stood there, breathing quietly, like she was bracing for a storm that already passed. Then she turned and walked deeper into the apartment. No words, no glances back, just the soft sound of her footsteps fading down the hallway. Something in the way she moved made me follow. We passed her pristine kitchen, the living room bathed in silver light, until she stopped at a door I'd never noticed before. She hesitated. Her fingers curled into a fist before reaching for the knob. Click. The door creaked open. The lights flickered on automatically, low and warm. What I saw made me stop in my tracks. A wall of butterflies, not real ones. Photos. Hundreds of them, maybe more, arranged in careful patterns, spanning the wall like wings, a kaleidoscope of captured memories. Each photo was of me. Me smiling under a tree, carrying books, laughing with Marcus, eating ramen, sitting alone, moments I'd long forgotten, moments I never knew she'd seen. I stepped inside slowly. "You did all this?" I asked, stunned. She nodded. "I started the day I woke up." I turned sharply. "Wait, you woke up before me?" She looked at the wall. "I don't know why, but I was here, back in college, weeks before you showed up again." My breath caught. "Elise." She gave a weak smile. "At first, I thought it was just a dream, or a punishment, or maybe a gift I didn't deserve. I didn't know what to do with it, so I watched. I remembered." She pointed to the top corner of the butterfly wing. "That was the first time I saw you again. You were holding a broken umbrella, cursing at the sky." I blinked. "I remember that day. I thought no one noticed." "I did," she said. "I always did." I scanned the wall again. There were dates, notes, thread connecting specific moments, like she had been documenting our history, trying to piece it all together. "I didn't know how to approach you," she said softly. "Not after everything. I was so scared I'd mess it up again. So I just started collecting pieces, trying to understand what I missed the first time." My heart felt like it was being unraveled, one stitch at a time. "All this time," I whispered, "you remembered more than I did." "I never forgot," she replied. I walked up to a photo in the center. It was of me, crouched down, tying my shoelace, completely unaware. "You always looked away," she said behind me, "but I never stopped looking." I turned to face her. This wasn't about guilt, or jealousy, or second chances. This was about a girl who once thought love was dangerous, who now stood quietly in a room of proof that she'd always cared. And for the first time, I believed it. "You built all this," I murmured. "Just to remember me?" "No," she said. "To remind myself not to forget." I looked at her, really looked, and she looked right back. "I didn't know how to love you out loud," she whispered, "but I think I'm ready to learn." We stood there, in that soft glow, surrounded by paper wings and second chances. And for the first time, it didn't feel like we were running back to the past. It felt like we were finally walking forward. The butterfly wall stayed behind us, but its weight followed me. Elise led me into another room. No soft lights, no photo threads, just a narrow bookshelf, a dusty desk, in a single frame lying face down on a nightstand. She didn't say a word. She just walked in, stood on her toes, and pulled a thick leather-bound photo album from the top shelf, the kind that smelled like forgotten time. She sat on the edge of her bed and tapped the space beside her. I joined her. Careful, quiet. She opened the album. "This is my mom," she said. The photo showed a beautiful woman in a sundress, standing under a flowering tree. She was holding a toddler, Elise. The girl was laughing, eyes closed, arms flailing. Pure joy. I looked at the real Elise sitting beside me. That same girl now carried walls around her heart like armor. She was everything, Elise said. Confident, poised. People followed her, and I wanted to be just like that. She turned the page. The woman was still smiling, but it was dimmer now. Each turn of the album drained more color from her mother's eyes. She started crying more after my father left, Elise whispered. Another page flipped. This time, a man had been crudely cut out of the photo, just jagged white space beside her mother. My dad walked out when I was 6. I stayed silent, let her speak on her own terms. She cried in the kitchen, in the car, in the shower, and every time I asked why, she'd just say, "Because love hurts. That's how you know it's real." She looked at me then, not angry, not bitter, just hollow. I started to believe her. The silence stretched between us. "She told me," Elise continued, "that if someone didn't make you cry, then it wasn't real love. That if it didn't ache, it didn't matter." I reached forward, gently closing the album. "Elise, that's not love. That's trauma." She gave a humorless smile. I didn't know the difference. Her fingers drifted to the nightstand. She flipped over the photo frame. Inside was a postcard. Faded. Slightly torn. "This came the night before our graduation," she said. The handwriting was rushed, uneven. I didn't need to read the words to know who it was from. "My dad," she said, confirming it. "After all these years he sent this. Said he was proud, that he always had been." Her voice cracked. "He didn't even remember my birthday." She placed the frame back down face first. "I stopped crying after that," she said quietly. "Stopped believing that love stayed, or that it was safe to want anything from it." I didn't try to fix it with words. I just reached out, and this time, when I held her hand, she clutched mine back. "I never needed you to be perfect," I whispered. "I just needed you to stop running." She nodded slowly. A tear slipped down her cheek, but it wasn't from pain, not entirely. It was the first tear she'd let herself cry, not because love hurt, but because maybe, just maybe, it could heal. We sat there for a long time, not speaking, not needing to. The photo album rested on the bed between us, closed but still heavy, like a chapter neither of us knew how to end. Eventually, I broke the silence. "You remember that boba shop by the train station?" Elise looked up. Her eyes were still red, but softer now. She nodded. "Back when we were dating the first time," I said. "I waited almost half an hour in line to buy you that taro milk tea." A breath escaped her. Half laugh, half exhale. "I remember. I was so sure you'd love it. I thought I was being sweet, romantic." She lowered her gaze. "But then you took one sip and told me I should have just bought one, for myself." Her shoulders tensed. "I told myself it didn't matter," I said. "That maybe you hated sweets, but the truth is, it stung." She looked up at me, and this time she didn't deflect, didn't explain it away. She just whispered, "I loved sweets." The confession hung in the air like steam from a forgotten cup of tea. "When I was little," she said, "they were the only bright thing in my life. Lollipops, cupcakes, candy I bought with loose coins. They made me feel like the world wasn't all sharp edges." She paused, then looked away. "But one day I got a terrible toothache. My nanny had gone home. My parents were out, separate lives, separate homes. No one answered when I called." She took a shaky breath. "I sat in the bathroom, crying, holding my face. I thought I was dying. I didn't speak. I called an ambulance myself, she continued. I was 6, alone, in pain, and terrified. The image broke something in me, not just sympathy, grief. After that night, I stopped eating sweets, she said. Not because I didn't like them, but because I couldn't separate them from that night, from that kind of pain. I finally understood. The way she always rejected dessert, the way she looked at birthday cake like it might bite her, the quiet way she watched other people enjoy what she wouldn't touch. And when you gave me that drink, she said, eyes flicking to mine, I wanted to enjoy it. I really did. But all I could think about was being alone, crying in the dark, and no one coming. I swallowed, hard. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. That day when you looked so disappointed, I realized I ruined something small but important, and I didn't know how to fix it. So I stayed quiet. There was nothing I could say to erase her past, but maybe I could offer something for her future. What happened after I left? I asked. She blinked, then smiled, small, sheepish. I bought the same drink, taro milk tea. I sat on my couch and stared at it for an hour before taking a sip. And? I finished it, she said. Slowly. It still scared me, but not as much as before. I laughed, quiet and full. That might be the bravest story I've ever heard about bubble tea. She smiled too, and this time it reached her eyes. You're the reason I started craving sweetness again, she said. I looked at her. Not the cold version I used to chase, but the girl beneath the ice, the one brave enough to try again. Well then, I said, standing up, you're getting your own cup next time. She raised an eyebrow. Now? I grabbed my coat. Now. I waited 8 years for this second date. You're not backing out. And as we walked out into the night, I caught a glimpse of her, grinning beneath the streetlights, like she just remembered what it felt like to want something sweet. Love doesn't arrive with a bang. It slips in quietly, soft and steady, until one day, you realize you've changed. The days that followed weren't perfect, but they were different. Elise and I found a strange rhythm, not as lovers, not yet, but as something else, something honest. She began showing up, for real. One morning, I opened my dorm door and found a cup of taro milk tea on the floor. No note, no fanfare, just a quiet gesture. The sweetness was hers now, not mine. Another day, she texted me a blurry photo of sunflowers on campus, my favorite. Her messages were short, clumsy, sometimes awkward, but every one of them was an effort. Every one of them said, I see you. We studied in the library together once. She fell asleep on her open textbook, hair falling over her face. I didn't wake her. I just watched. In another life, I would have been afraid to want this again, but now I let myself feel it, carefully. There were still cracks. Sometimes when I laughed too hard, she flinched. Sometimes, when I reached for her hand, she hesitated, just a second too long. But the difference was, she noticed. She tried. One night she knocked on my door. No warning. No excuse. She stood there holding something behind her back. I tried baking, she said. She handed me a small, slightly lopsided cupcake. Marcus said it was edible. I took a bite. It was dense, a little dry, overmixed, but sweet. You baked this? She looked sheepish. Don't laugh. I'm not, I said. I'm impressed. Her eyes lit up. Not fully, but enough. We sat by the window after that, sharing one cupcake and a bag of chips. She leaned against my shoulder, not for warmth, not for comfort, just because she wanted to. And I let her. The version of Elise I knew before never leaned in. She braced. She waited. She pulled away. But this version? She leaned. And I realized something. She wasn't just learning to love me. She was learning to love herself. And that was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. Graduation day. The kind of day that feels like an ending and a beginning all at once. The sky was too perfect, the air too bright, and yet all I could feel was the weight of everything that had led us here. I stood in line with the other graduates, adjusting the collar of my gown, blinking into the sunlight. Somewhere nearby, Marcus cracked jokes, cameras clicked, families cheered, but I barely heard any of it because my eyes were on her, Elise, at the front of the stage, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. She wore her gown like armor, chin up, shoulders back. But I could see it, the nerves in her hands, the tight grip around the stems. She was valedictorian. Of course she was. That hadn't changed in this version of the timeline. But something else had. This Elise wasn't untouchable. She was real. And when she stepped up to the mic, her voice trembled. "I was asked to speak about success," she began. "About growth and the future." A pause. Her eyes scanned the crowd. "But I want to talk about something else." She looked straight at me. My breath caught. "I want to talk about the moments we don't put on resumes," she said. "The ones we carry quietly. Regret, fear, hope." People began murmuring. The room shifted. "There's someone here today," she continued, "who gave me something I didn't know I needed. A second chance." Now the silence was absolute. Even the wind seemed to still. I pushed him away, again and again, and he never gave up, until one day. He did. A flicker of pain crossed her face. And I realized, too late, that love isn't about waiting for someone to prove they'll stay. It's about learning how to stay with them, too. She held the bouquet closer to her chest. I spent so long believing love had to hurt, that if it didn't make me ache, it wasn't real. She exhaled. But I was wrong. I could barely breathe. "I still don't know how to love perfectly," she said, "but I'm trying. Every day. Because the truth is, I never stopped loving him." Gasps. A few quiet claps. Marcus made a noise like he was about to explode. Then Elise smiled. Small, trembling, but brave. "So today, I'm not just graduating," she said. "I'm asking. One more time." She looked directly at me. "Julian, can you still love me?" For a moment, the world held its breath, and so did I. I wanted to run to her. I wanted to shout yes. But love, real love, needed honesty. And the truth was, I didn't know. Not yet. So I smiled. Soft. True. Not an answer, but not a no. And from where she stood, Elise nodded, as if she understood. Because maybe this time. It wasn't about chasing. It was about meeting halfway. The crowd had scattered. The caps were thrown. Laughter and music echoed through the campus. But I stayed rooted in place. Not because I didn't know where to go, but because I hadn't made my choice yet. Elise hadn't come looking for me after her speech. She didn't need to. She'd already said everything that mattered. I found her under a quiet tree near the edge of the courtyard. She was sitting on the brick ledge, her graduation gown folded neatly beside her, the sunflower bouquet resting in her lap. She didn't notice me at first. She was plucking the petals, gently, one by one, like each one was a memory, or a question. When I said her name, she looked up, not startled, not expectant, just waiting. And I saw it then. The difference. This wasn't the Elise who stood on a pedestal. This was the Elise who cried over cupcakes and tried to love out loud. The Elise who came back, not to be chased but to try again. I walked up and sat beside her. Close, but not too close. She didn't speak first. Neither did I. We just let the quiet settle around us. Then I reached out, not for her hand, but for the last sunflower in her lap. "I was angry," I said softly. "For a long time." She nodded. Once. Silent. "And I wanted to stop loving you." Her breath caught, but she didn't look away. "I thought that if I stopped caring, I'd finally be free." The wind picked up slightly, rustling the grass. "But every time I tried, I'd remember something small. The way you smiled when no one was looking. The way you used to tie your hair with that fraying ribbon. The way you watched the world like you were afraid it might break. I turned to her. She was already looking at me. Elise, I don't want to love the version of you I imagined. I want to love the one that's standing right in front of me. The one that's scared. Flawed. Real. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. And if you'll let me, I said. I want to find out what that kind of love looks like. Her lips trembled, then parted. I don't know if I can promise perfection, she whispered. I smiled. I'm not asking for that. She reached for my hand. This time, there was no hesitation. Then yes, she said. Yes, I want that too. And just like that, everything that had fractured between us, years of silence, of hurt, of missed moments, didn't disappear. But it didn't define us anymore. We weren't starting over. We were starting forward, together.